Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Oh. Okay, so we are back with our Panchadasi. The page is 91, summary of discrimination of the elements. So we have gone through this this chapter 2. Now we are coming to the conclusion of this chapter 2. So, and now we have a summary, okay? So 8 planes of experience or class of objects have been unfolded. Existence, Sat, Maya, space, air, fire, water, earth, and then the cosmos as an extra element, as we saw in last class, last Panchadasi class. Cosmos consisting of 17 planes of experience. It's interesting because again we run into that in that situation. The cosmos, the totality of the manifest, consists of different planes of experience. Okay, there are some experience taking place on these different planes of experience, and the bodies that inhabit them. So we have here eight features, let's say, of the universe, I would say, rather than planes of experience. 8 features of the cosmos, of the universe, or 8 class of objects or energy / matter. There are 8 levels of phenomenon, manifest phenomenon. So these plans have been unfolded, being Sat, existence, and then Maya, space, and then the 5 elements, and the cosmos, consisting of 7 planes of experience and the bodies that inhabit them. So it gives us the chance to revisit this concept. I haven't had the chance yet of contact Swami Paramarthananda. As a matter of fact, I have been ill for a few days, so I'm still a bit weak. And but I intend to contact Paramarthananda, although I have done more readings on his expositions of Panchadasi through these chapters in the transcription of his classes, because nowadays they have the transcriptions there. So it says here that it consists of 7 planes of experience. We know that we do experience in the dream state, right? So the dream state is a let's say a realm or dimension of experience, right? But what we do experience in a sleep, in the dream state, does not help us much in the process of extracting knowledge and wisdom, right? Because we are there with our intellect somewhat compromised, and we experience something which is more like a reflection of our own vasanas or our own unconscious mind. And it is a weird movie in which you sometimes you see the experiencing entity, and then you see the scene of the landscape in which and we don't have much of a means to really learn much. I mean, some people like to learn from that realm of experience. They like to learn in retrospective, like James used to say that he was very much interested in the dream, and he used to take notes and then explore, trying to recognize the meaning behind those projections and so on. So he did quite some effort there to try to learn something from those realities. Huh? So I'm saying that because that state is a state of experience, but yet it does not serve much any purpose as far as spiritual growth or evolution. You remember I was saying that I asked Ramji and I asked some other people as well in the past, when we leave this body and then we go into these different dimensions, and with different bodies, etheric bodies or whatever we call them. If we go there, can we still evolve, learn, and get moksha or get enlightened there? So I used to ask some of these teachers I was associated with in the past. They used to say, some of them say, I don't know. And then I asked Ramji, and he was very brief, and he was not elaborating whatsoever. And he said, no, it's not possible. You cannot evolve, grow, or get self-knowledge in that state because it is more like a dream state. You are going to be experiencing your mind, your vasanas, the content of your vasanas. So you're going to be just experience the impressions that you have recycled from your direct experience with the Vyavaharika. So we have two orders of reality. Now, one is the projection coming from Maya Ishvara, and it is a reflection that occurs in the macrocosmic reflecting medium, and that we find to be real because it's more dense, it's more tangible, and it's more structured in a way that the structure of this Jiva Atma has the ground, available to process experience and gain knowledge. You understand where I'm going? So we have a density, we have things structured in a way, and then the Jiva has its mind and develops, purifies the mind, and then it starts interacting with the field and start connecting the dots and developing wisdom, knowledge, and then it ends up asking the most fundamental questions. Where I came from, what is the purpose of this life, and so on. So just when we have the physical manifestation, the Vyavaharika, which again it's physical to us. So we don't know much how other beings experiencing energy, because everything is a field of energy. We don't know how other animals experience. So we have animals that have developed more of certain sense and less of some others. We have animals that can only see in the dark, for example, So things are a little bit different, and we don't have the experience of any one of these creatures. But we know that we experience that which seems to be solid physical matter. And then in this field of matter, so we find our body, and our body has the physical instruments of perception and action. So it's easy for us to understand that somehow in the dream state, because we don't have our physical body there with us, we don't have our physical sense instruments, right? Why? Because the eyes are not available, the ears are not available, the smell, the nose, and everything, our sense physical instruments are not there because the physical body is suppressed or it's off, it's turned off, okay? Yet, of course, we may be even able to see colors and to smell and to hear music in the dream state. So, but as far as we know, in the dream state, we don't have our intellectual faculty sharp enough to understand what's going on and to learn, you understand? So now, the moment we don't have these physical instruments, which allows us the outlet to the world, through the five sense instruments, and then we don't have the very instrument that allows us to experience and learn and know, right? Does it make sense, Claudio? Yeah, we don't have it. So we don't have it. So therefore, what kind of experience is that? It's more like a subjective experience, as we know. It's pure pratibhasika. It's pure pratibhasika. In the awakened state, we experience both. We experience vyavaharika, which is the reflection, the projection of Maheshwara, and we experience as well, each one of us, our own pratibhasika, the way we see the world according to our vasanas, according to the filters, our bias, and so on. So in the awake state, we have both, but we have a structure. We have a nice structure of matter, in which and the physical body, and it's lower the process of contacting object of experience, which gives us the opportunity to infer and learn something, So it's a different situation. I'm saying that because my understanding from what I read, heard, and from what James told me is that when we go to exhaust some punya here and there, or when we go to exhaust some papas down there, so we are exhausting, we experience the content of our mind. And we know that as well by the experiences we have in the dream state. When our mind is disturbed, extremely disturbed, worried, concerned, guilt, and whatever, and in deep conflict. So we go to sleep, and then when we dream, we usually we have painful dreams. It's like we experience a little hell. We call it nightmares. We experience what? We experience the quality of our mind. The quality. I have a lot of conflicting energies and emotions, and and things going on, and then I don't sleep well, and I have bad dreams, as we say, right? So when we imagine leaving the body and going to any one of these 17 planes, we could, it makes sense to me that we may go there to experience the inner content of our mind, of our subtle body. And that was exactly what Ramji told me in few words without elaborating. He said, no, it's just like a dream state. You experience your vasanas, okay? You experience your mind. It's a subjective reality. And I pick it up from here and there. And it is my take that the 17 planes of experience, and they require 17 bodies, which is something that may be so, but I tend to believe that it's the same subtle body on different levels of frequency or vibration or purification or grossification, depends on the quality. If we vibrate with very beautiful, fine energies and thoughts and so on, and then, of course, we have good dreams in the night, we have celestial dreams, because our mind is pacified, it's in peace. So I'm just reviewing this in connection with Mark was saying that he believes that, of course, we go into these different realms, and from there we keep going on a process of evolution, of growth, and so on. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the correct vision. I'm saying that this is my understanding, but in any case, there is so much there in the exoteric world, and even in the Vedas that talks about 17 planes of experience, and then what we do with this experience. That's why I have been carrying this question with me for 20 years, So can I learn and grow and get self-knowledge and moksha on these different realms? Yes or no? And I definitely now I will find my time to reach. It's a huge time difference between here and India, and I know he likes to take calls in a certain time, but I will see what I can do if I manage to talk to him. Anything else from you, Mark or Claudio?
Yeah, it'd be great to resolve this, wouldn't it? It'd be wonderful to hear Swami Paramahansa's perspective on this.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So, and then going back here to the summary, it says, every subsequent plan occupies a larger fraction of the previous one. Again, it goes to that notion that it takes most of the previous one, which means to say it's 90% denser than the previous one, okay? Each subsequent plane of density of energy, like the elements, space, air, fire, and so on, it goes grossifying, and every subsequent plane occupies a larger fraction of the previous one. Each one of these lends its original properties to the subsequent one. So, of course, existence, consciousness has no properties, but we can say that it does have its nature, as consciousness, or consciousness has its nature as existence. So each subsequent plane, because the thing is existence, the number one there is not really a plane of experience, because it says any planes of experience, because Brahman or Satchit does not experience anything. You understand? In order to experience, we need to have duality. We need to have Maya projecting consciousness as the Jiva Atma, and then the other objects as objects of experience. And then we have experience. We have the experiencer and the experienced. So we need Maya, and we need duality, of course. So existence is not really a plane of experience, but and it does not really have property, but it have the nature. The nature is conscious existence, and this conscious existence is transferred to the five elements, transferred first to Maya Shwara, of course. It's transferred to Maya Shwara, and then it's transferred to space, air, fire, water, earth. And then once we have the element earth, and then somehow we are presented with this notion of another plane called the cosmos. Because the cosmos is the total configuration of the five elements, which depends on Maya, Shwara, and existence. And then once we have the element earth, because the element earth is not only earth, it's space, air, fire, water, and earth. Everything is contained in earth. Once we have that, and then that somehow, poof, it unfolds as another plane of experience in that sense, called the universe, cosmos, consisting of 17 planes of experience and 17 bodies. So we know for sure that we do not take our physical body in the dream state. Therefore, if I experience in the dream state, I must experience with a different body. And then when the dreamer disappears, and then I enter the deep sleep state, I know I don't take my awaker and my dreamer. Yet we know for sure that there is a certain level of experience, and in order to have an experience, we need the duality, experiencer and the experienced. So, and then it's clear for us that we have at least three bodies, three bodies that inhabit these three states, these three lokas within our common day-to-day experience. There are three lokas: awakening, and then the dream, and then the deep sleep. Yeah? So it's not.
Arlindo, sorry. Can I have a question. A doubt about the deep sleep state. Because I had an experience in my life that it was an accident when I was 14 years old. And I always had, every time that I talk about this accident, I always talk to people that for 1 hour, about 1 hour, I was what is it?
No, I'm showing Mark.
Cantil.
What is that, Arlindo? I can't see what.
It Kantil, very, very popular in Tiruvannamalai, in all of India for the throat and so on.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice. Good.
I thought you would identify. I still have a few. I bought a box with me last time. I apologize.
Okay, nice.
Go back to your experience.
No problem. Because my experience, I always told to people when I talk about this accident, about the experience of my accident, that I always told I was not existing for an hour, because I remember this thing that at a certain, I was with my motorbike, and at a certain point some things go out, because I don't even remember the moment that the car puts me, how you say, it hits me, and I don't remember this moment. So for me, I wake up on the ambulance, how you say, the car that brings me to the hospital, and I was not, for me, I was not existing in this hour. It was almost an hour, okay, of time, and I always thought I was not existing in this time. For me, I don't exist. So now I come to Vedanta, and Vedanta tells me that in deep sleep state, there is some kind of experience, okay? And I always try to understand, okay, for me, this is clear, this is true, because when I in deep sleep, yeah, it's true. I was not realizing this before Vedanta, but now I realize it, because when I am in deep sleep state, there is some kind of experience, because you feel it, it's pleasurable, so you want to go back to that, or what we are always saying. But I always fight a little bit with my experience of this accident, because it was very strange for me. It was like I was not experienced nothing in this hour. I was not at all, there is a real blackout, of this moment. How can I interpret this moment of my life?
It's very simple. You are a student of Panchadasi, okay? Panchadasi is analysis of existence. It's inquiry into the nature of existence. So you are looking into trying to investigate and understanding existence itself. Okay. So, and Panchadasi established by logic that consciousness and experience and existence are like the two sides of the same coin. It's the nature of Brahman, Sat, that which is the isness of everything, the existence, and Chit, the intelligence or the consciousness, okay, from where the whole universe is designed, and so on. So you know that both are the same, okay? So how can you not exist through that state of coma? I mean, and I'm telling you, is it existing as a jiva, okay? Because existence exists even if your jiva would be dead, okay? But as a jiva, so your existence was still there, but it was not operating in a conscious kind of manner. I mean, when the scriptures talk about these logics, sometimes it presents like deep sleep, like nirvikalpa samadhi, like fainting, and like coma, okay? So it's all of those are examples of a certain state in which the Jivatma is unconscious or subconscious. Okay, so the I, aham, the ego, and the word, they subside, they disappear. And there is great peace and satisfaction, because as we know, the aham brings about the idam, and then the trouble begin. Okay, how to to deal with these words, once I am fully identified with the body-mind complex. Okay, so when you understand Vedanta, you can see clearly that that you cannot not exist during that period of time. It's just a question which body of yours was operating there, and which kind of state of mind you had in that condition that somehow did not allow you conscious thought. You understand? But maybe subconscious thought, maybe unconscious thought. But it's clear that somehow in retrospective, you remember more or less, you probably remember when you say, I did not exist, most probably you are meaning to say that I experienced nothing. You understand?
No time. I experienced really no time. I experienced really nothing, no time. It's simple, something cuts and there was no time, and I wake up in another time, but there was like...
Yeah. Just imagine, we see these movies on scientific fiction, that people, they travel in space and then they come on a different timeline, and then it is 200-300 years later on, and they say, okay, now I'm here, so 300 years have passed and I experienced nothing, and now I have to catch up with this new environment. Must be tough, huh? But in your case, it was only 1 hour.
Yeah.
And in the night is not a big deal for us, because it's just 8 hours, and most people around us is sleeping as well. We don't need to control them because they are behaving in deep sleep. And, but just imagine someone like the piloto de Formula 1, Schumacher, the German one. He is what now? He's 10 years or more in coma.
Yeah.
And they are keeping him alive. Just imagine if they pull him off of these machines, and then just imagine that his conscious mind is coming back, and he finds himself in a world 30 years later on, and without knowing what happened during those 30 years.
Yeah,
it must
if he find this world, it will be go back in coma, because no, I won't go back. Thank you very much. No.
Exactly. And the people outside is the one who wants to bring him back, but it might be very disorienting, So probably you had an experience of nothing, you experienced nothing.
Yeah, of course, there was never a moment where I don't exist. I simply experiment that there was an hour but I always exist, of course. I was simply shut down my experience, and it woke up in another time, but it was, I never not existing. This is clear for me.
Now let's look from the angle of consciousness, not from the sat but chit. Okay, so what allows you to say now that I experience nothing? You understand? There must be a level of consciousness, that allows you to say I experience nothing. Everything happens in consciousness. Doesn't matter how subtle this experience entity may be, but everything happens in consciousness through the mind, whatever level. You understand?
Now with this your question, I really realized clearly that I was always ever present. True. I was always ever present. Now I realize it, because I experienced some strange thing, but I was always ever present. True.
And then the next thing you have to understand that you are always ever present, even before you are born, That is something that Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say very often during a period of his life as a guru. Go back to that state before you were born. I don't know if you guys were fan of Nisargadatta. I read everything. And he said, go back to that state before you were born, and he would never elaborate. And we would be like, fuck, this is really difficult.
This is,
I mean,
wow.
We must love Vedanta because Vedanta just, it breaks through all these mystical, vague, and abstract concepts, without elaboration,
Thank you.
You are welcome. Each subsequent plane, okay, consciousness has one property. So now it's putting that consciousness has one property, that is existence. Sometimes we may say existence has one property, which is consciousness, but they are just two sides of the same coin. So Maya has two properties, seemingness and existence. Okay, Maya exists, and Maya by nature or by property, it is that which seems to exist, but it's not real. And of course it borrows, like every element, it keeps passing on, transferring its fundamental property to the other ones, space, length, space to air, and so on. Air is going to lend space and its intrinsic property as well of touch to fire, and so on. So consciousness has one property, which is existence, and Maya has two, seemingness and existence. Space has sound. Sound is the intrinsic property of space, and then it borrows. It borrows seemingness from existence, seemingness from Maya, and existence from consciousness. So after adding the properties of all 8 objects, 2 to 8 have 2 properties in common, seemingness and borrowed existence. After adding the properties to all 8, consciousness, Maya, and the 5 elements, after adding the properties of all 8, 2 of them, 2 to 8 object 2 to 8, meaning to say Maya to 8, have 2 properties in common, which is seemingness and existence. So it means to say existence and seemingness is you are going to find in all other elements, including the cosmos, which is present as the totality of the Earth's manifestation. Okay, so it means to say everything has these 2 features, which is existence borrowed from consciousness and seemingness borrowed from Maya. Existence otherwise has no properties and cannot be negated. It is the isness of everything. This discrimination between existence and the 7 classes of object is called the discrimination of creation, Viveka Trishti. So nice, huh? This discrimination between existence and all these 7 other classes of phenomena, okay? Existence is not a phenomenon, but then Maya, and then we have collapsed Ishwara and Maya, and then space, and so on until the cosmos. All of this, we need to discriminate from what? From existence. Existence and these 7 other levels or classes of phenomena. So it's very nicely put, the way it is presented, so that we can understand it's always the same, such a method discrimination but seen from different angles, no? The same way we are seeing the same such a mithya discrimination in the Drisha Viveka, Drisha, I don't know, between the seer and the seen. The fruit of discrimination of the elements, verse 98 to 108. Conditioned superimposition is liberation. Verses 98 to 108 unfold the fruit of discrimination, clear knowledge, the vision of non-duality, and a liberated person. 98. It does not matter if one continues to experience a world once it is understood to be mithya. All worlds exist in the lower order of the one non-dual reality, and I, the observing, no-experienced witness, am situated in the higher order of reality. Woo! I'm going to highlight this one because it's so beautifully put. So now what is Vidyaranya say in this verse? It does not matter if I continue to experience the world once I understand it to be mithya. Okay, so we don't need to remove the world, and we know the world is phenomenal, is a superimposition, is a reflection. It happens within the mirror of consciousness, let's say. All this world existence in the lower order of reality that we call mithya, and I, the observing, well, I, now this I refers to the true I within all of us, the only I, the observing, non-experiencing and witness, I am situated in the higher order of reality. So we are kind of breaking down mithya in so many different ways from different angles or teachings, you know, because I, from the higher order of reality, I, Satchit, I got confused with my experiences, you know, and then my experience have to be understood on different ways, so that I can undo that with that confusion between the I and what I experience. Okay, so and here it says all words exist in the lower. Doesn't matter. I mean, he's putting it in the perspective that it does not matter what kind of celestial loka it may be. It does not matter what inferior loka it may be. It does not matter if it is the waking state, the sleep state, and the dream state. Okay, all these lokas, all these worlds exist in the lower order of the one reality, and I am that one reality. But then he defines this I, saying I, the observing, non-experience witness, which is not an entity, the observing, non-experiencing entity or witness, I am situated in the higher order of reality. So we have to understand this word situated. It's not that I am in a kind of space, place, location, you understand? It's just that I am that higher order of reality. You are going to say something?
I was going to comment on that exactly. I am situated because he's talking in dualistic language. He's there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just going to comment on that, but you beat me to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I am that order of reality. I am Satya. I am the light of consciousness. I am the non-experience conscious witnessing principle, no? Knowing principle. Okay, discrimination brings about an imperceptible change in status. It does not affect the behavior of objects. I now see myself as awareness, existence, conscious existence, whereas before I was merely a samsari who believed I was limited in many ways. Often liberation is said to be a waking up from a dream, but it's not a waking up from a dream. Because the waking and the dream worlds are not the same. Because the waking and the dream worlds, the waking world and the dream world are not the same. So it's like waking up from a dream. It's like waking up from a dream. It's not waking up from a dream, but it's like waking up from a dream. I don't understand the distinction here. Help me, because often liberation is said to be a waking up from a dream, but it's not waking up from a dream, because the waking and the dream worlds are not the same. So we cannot awake in the same realm. It's like a waking up from a dream, and then it repeats the same sentence. You do not enter a different world when discrimination is continuous.
Oh, he says it is, before he says it is not waking up from a dream, but is like waking up from a dream, in the sense that it is like a metaphor, but it's not real because you do not enter in a different world. So it's the word like is different.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be a waking up, but it's not, because there are two suborders of reality within media, okay, and they don't abstract or they don't impact one another. So you do not enter a different world when discrimination is continuous. Okay, so when you do not enter a different world when discrimination is continuous, everything remains as it was before. So he's pointing out to the fact that often liberation is said to be a waking up from a dream, but it's not waking up from a dream, because the wake and the dream worlds are not the same. Okay, there are two orders, so you cannot really wake up from the dream. What would happen if you wake up from the dream? You would, in the dream,
you would go in another world, like.
no, I mean, if it was correct to say that it's waking up from a dream, okay, and then I'm dreaming, and then I wake up from a dream, and then within the dream I say, hey, this is a dream. You understand? But usually no, we have to jump to become the awaker, and then we say, I was dreaming. Yeah? So the same way, when we do this discrimination, no? We do not enter a different world when discrimination is continuous. Everything remains as it was before. Meaning to say, when you wake up from the Maya Ishvara projection, the sense that duality is reality, and I as matter, I am the reality, and I project the same level of reality to the other matter around me. So when I live within that avidya spell of Maya, and then what happens? I believe that when I wake up, and then I'm gonna go into a different world. And a lot of people, there's this idea, I know, once you wake up, and then you go in a different dimension, and then the world is no longer the same, or whatever, So that's the point here. Everything remains as it was before. Nothing changed. Perception and experience stays the same. The difference between objects remains as always, and there is no difference in the functions of object. The objects and the functions and the properties remain the same, nothing changed. Liberation is just the hard and fast knowledge that awareness, existence, is real, and the objects are apparently real. I'm completely free of the influence of the world. Why? Why we can say that we are completely free? Huh?
Because we are aware that we are free of the world. We are aware that we are always ever-present awareness, and the world is Mithya.
Yeah.
And,
So we are free because there are two orders of the same non-dual order, you know, Satya and Mithya. In truth, there is only Satya, but there is this superimposition. And then what happens in Mithya does not impact your nature in Satya, you know, like that other sentence would say, you know, that you remain situated in the higher order of reality. You understand? You are there. You are Satya. In your understanding, you are situated in that conviction of knowledge. You know that nothing affects you. If you were there, that's the ultimate security, as we say. Why? Because here I know that nothing can touch me. Because what happens in Mithya belongs to Mithya and can never impact me. And we have several examples, Vedantic examples that explains that, you know, like, I mean, if I do something in my dream and then I'm condemned to death, and then in the moment that they are going to kill me, and then I wake up, I say, oh, thanks God, you know, thanks God that what happens in Mithya remains in Mithya. And here I'm free and independent from what happened there. So when we are situated, you know, in our understanding, Satya, and then we are free from what? From what happened in Mithya. That's the idea. Huh? If you don't live in the same order, same world I did before, what use is liberation? This is a good point as well. So I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to be free from samsara, free from this suffering and discomfort. And then when I'm free, I find myself in emptiness. And then there is nothing. There's nothing to enjoy. There's nothing. If I don't live in the same world I did before, the world in which I wake up to, you know, what's the use of waking up? You understand? I want to wake up to enjoy my life here as it is, because that was the reason. You understand? So I only seek liberation to make my life enjoyable. It's another point. Although to some people, the search for liberation takes a different dimension. It's not only to be an enjoyer, but it is a burning desire to know the truth. You understand? Some people, they are willing to even pay the price of their life, you know, and some people like Nisargadatta Maharaj, it's really totally dispassionate towards the pleasures of life, which is not uncommon to the yanis. You understand? Here say, I want to enjoy my life as a liberated. It sounds a little bit like a commentary of Ramji. He put it.
But in a way, even if I renounce totally to enjoying life, it is in a certain way a way to enjoy much life, because you realize totally that this is all an illusion. So it's in a way more enjoyable, more ananda. No, you feel more ananda.
That's why it says. That's why it says that it's the only source of security, the only way to live in this world, you know, and enjoy. You know, enjoy your true nature. It's not that you enjoy the world; you're going to enjoy your Purna nature, which is seen as the world as well.
Yeah.
A different experience of life is of no use to me because I am awareness. It is Ishvara's will that my liberation contributes to the Dhamma field like everything else in the apparent reality. So all of that links to the verse, it does not matter if one continues to experience a world once it is understood to be mithya. So the first part here, it has a little bit of that flavor of dispassion. It does not matter if one continues to experience the world or not once it's understood to be mithya. And this is a fact as well. You understand? Are you with me, Claudio?
Does not matter.
Yeah. It does not matter if one continues to experience a world, any world, once it's understood that it's mithya. So this is something that it's not uncommon in the mind of the Yanis as well, understand? Which is the sense of detachment or dispassion towards the world, in the sense that there is no binding desire and fears attaching, yeah, or projecting value to the world. Verse 99, when a deep impression, Jagan Mithyan Vasana, has been created in the mind about the apparent nature of Maya, the elements and the derivatives, the knowledge of the nature of the self becomes permanent. Okay, this the verse here requires some elaboration. I'm just realizing here because I was preparing the class today, but I went to the transcription of Swami Paramarthananda and I kept reading, and I forgot to read this following verse here. So I'm reading for the first time here since a while. And now it's very nicely addressed. They say, when a deep impression, a Jagan Mithyan Vasana has been created in the mind about the apparent nature of Maya, the elements and the derivatives, the knowledge of the nature of self becomes permanent. So this, what vasana is this one? A deep impression. Of course, it is such a mithya vasana. So how are you going to discriminate satya, the mithya, from mithya? No? Satya is very simple. Satya is the seer. No? Satya is the conscious light that illumines and reveals. You know, Satya is the absolute experiencer or knower. No? So how am I going to do this discrimination? Okay, in a way that this knowledge of the nature of the self becomes firm and permanent. The goal here is not to develop a huge vasana about mithya, so that I know what's not mithya. I know what's mithya. I know what's mithya. So that is one step, is to understand what is the not self, so that you can claim the self as your true nature. You are doing that because the confusion that it's somehow so common due to Maya. Yeah? And then it says, when a deep vasana has been created, a spiritual vasana, discriminating the apparent nature of Maya, the elements and their derivatives, all the configurations of Maya, you are discriminating that. You have a huge vasana, discriminate, you see the world and you discriminate. Then the knowledge of the nature of the self becomes clear, firm, firmly held, retained, and permanent. So it's not that we need to be that the elements, Maya, the nature of Maya, the nature elements and their derivatives is our focus. Our focus is just to understand what's the not self and understand what's the self and claim our nature as the light of consciousness, as the self, as the seer, not the mind. The mind is seen. So knowledge, the nature of the self, becomes permanent. So this deep impression, this vasana, is fundamental, as we know, because we are all operated by vasanas. We are objects with three bodies, a very subtle, which is unconscious, and then a subtle body, and then a physical body. Only the subtle body has reflect consciousness, providing us with the conscious mind. And then within these three bodies, we have this play of the causal body, the storehouse of vasanas, of impressions. And we have a subtle body, our mental, emotional, intellectual body, our memory systems. So we have these two bodies and the physical body. So we need to develop a deep impression. And how can we create a deep impression, deep Satyamitya Vasana? We cannot produce it directly in the causal body. We need to begin in the conscious mind, in the subtle body, by following the logic, studying, reflecting, meditating, contemplating, and then gradually this understanding grows. And then when we see we have replaced some of those old impressions, which were based on the mistaken understanding that the reality is duality, and the world serves the purpose to complete me, and so on, and I am this body mind. So all these notions, all these vasanas in the causal body, in these formations of vasanas or mental, emotional, intellectual impressions, So all of these impressions, they need to be replaced by spiritual, Vedantic, Upanishadic vasanas, impressions. So why we need to create this? Why we need to do this work in the causal body, which can be done only in the subtle body, can only be done in the conscious mind, okay? Because only in the subtle body we can examine our experience with the help of the scripture, and then we can start rewriting, reprogramming, or developing new impressions, subconscious impressions in the causal body, because we need to replace those ignorant impressions, vasanas, with vasanas which were online, in harmony, conformed with this Satyamitya discrimination. So we need this deep impression for this reason, and it needs to be cultivated and created until we see Maya for what it is, and we see all the elements and the derivatives for what it is. Just name, colors, and forms, and this all is happening. We see myself, consciousness, existence, the only reality. And only then the knowledge of the nature of the self becomes permanent. Sometimes I tend to say that how can I know the self or realize the self? So already since a while I was inclined to say that we do it indirectly. We do it indirectly by seeing, examining, of course, our experience, with the help of the scriptures, and identifying what is matter and energy, what is the not self. Okay, so how I'm going to know the self? I cannot know the self. I cannot know the self because the self is not an object of knowledge, but I can know the self indirectly by the net, the understanding that the self cannot be an object of knowledge, an object of experience. So, and then I'm developing this vasana, okay? This is Maya, this change, it's within time, this is a byproduct of Maya. This is another configuration. The body is another configuration of the elements and only elements. This is all matter and energy. By doing that, we are just isolating the light in which all those phenomena and the process of discrimination between the light and whatever is revealed, illumined and revealed by this light. So this is the process. Huh? The deep impression is the vasanas created by continually appreciating the fact that objects are apparently real when the ego tells you that they are real. If the world and the objects are actually solid and real for you, it means that you think that you are the body and that the gain or loss of an object can affect you. You can destroy this belief, you can destroy this subconscious impression, this vasana, by listening to the teachings of the Upanishads and contemplating until the meaning of apparent is apparent. Meaning, until the meaning of apparent is apparent. Okay, until you understand that it's really apparent. It's really apparent, you know? Or you can come to this conviction by understanding the relative reality of objects from knowledge of quantum mechanics or repeated epiphanies or blah, blah, blah. If there is still a doubt, you can trust the scriptures. The trust in the scripture is not enough, I tell you. It has endured because it is the truth. To stay with the objects, to say that objects are not real, solid, real, does not mean that the object will appear to be hazy or dreamlike or so on. When you are liberated, but that you understand that nothing is to be gained or lost by engaging the objects. That's the bottom line, very nicely put. There is nothing to be gained, nothing to be lost in engaging the world, okay? So that's the meaning here. But again, if there is still doubt, you can trust the scripture, but nobody can trust the scripture for very long. If the person does not have a fine intellect to follow the logic, the analysis, and start seeing the logic that supports these statements, such as this is only an appearance, if we don't have that knowledge, that logic, you know, based on analysis of experience, okay? If we don't have that, the trust in the scripture is not going to survive for much long, okay? That's what distinguishes Vedanta from many other philosophies or spiritual circles and so on. Here we have this embasement of logic, you know, supporting those statements. But the intellect needs to be sharp enough, as we know, right? Or subtle enough, to put in another word. Okay, my friends. So I think it was a good satsang overall. I'm a little bit slower because I'm a little bit ill, but I think it's good because I slowed down a little bit. Silvia sometimes say that I go too fast in my classes. You think so, Claudio?
No, I don't think so.
No?
And also, today was good because this last verse, it resonates much to me because it's what I am experiencing just in this period, because now it's more than 3 years and I am in Vedanta, because I started in 2019. So, and I start to experiment this, you know, that if you start to create a vasanas, then with the scripture and you contemplate it, you expose yourself to the scriptures, and you start to have a vasana real that start to give fruits, and you start to discriminate better, to understand better. I remember the first time that we talked, you tell me that I was talking to you of my experience, and you told me you have an extroverted mind, you say, and I say, what? I have an extroverted mind. What does it mean? You know, I don't understand what does it mean, because for me, I'm not extroverted, but now I understand it. I really understand.
Oh,
it
I'm
because
sorry
now
I have said that.
what.
I'm sorry. I have
No,
said
it was
now,
not.
nowadays,
no,
I avoid to say such a thing.
no, it was not offensive, but it was like I could not understand what the self was at this time, that the observer, all these things, the real observer, of course. And now I understand it. It creates avasanas. I really start to see it little by little, of course, because not always it's not so firm, but it starts to grow, you know. And I experimented. Best words was for me. It's for me real actual present now. Good.
Good. Nice. So you are putting Vedanta to the test. And as we know, it takes some time, perseverance, and trust as well, you know, humility, and so on. Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purname Vavashishade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon, next Thursday with Drig Drisha.
Okay. Thanks, Alinda.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.